Thanks for clicking through to Chamber Chat. These are one-on-one interviews with business and political leaders in our community. And today in our community, right here at the Chamber offices, I'm pleased to sit down with our mayor, His Worship Doug Craig. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you.
You're looking wonderful.
Well, I know, it's spring. Everyone looks
I know
better
why
in
you're so
spring.
excited, too, today.
What's that?
Because we're both going to the opening of a new business coming into Cambridge.
That's right.
Yeah, I think, isn't that exciting
No, I think
stuff?
it's always great. When you get new businesses coming in, and especially smaller businesses, which I really enjoy, you see that there's still a lifeblood of economic progress taking place. You know, we had the large air industry being outed in the industrial park.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the name I can never say, but anyways, it's 100,000 square feet.
Yeah.
They came into Cambridge a number of months ago, over a year and a half ago, and all of a sudden I was asked to go to a dinner. And this group of executives from Montreal had flown in because they decided they were going to come to Cambridge, and it was really an honor.
They make the landing gear for 777.
Yeah, that's correct. And it was terrific. And a year and a half later, our staff did everything to help them get things on schedule. And here we are, and we have this wonderful plant. I got about 100 employees in it now. It's going to expand farther, and it's part of the sort of the anchor in the Boxwood subdivision.
I think it's interesting because you talk to people and they think about Cambridge as being this, manufacturing and kind of factory worker type. But there are manufacturers, lots of manufacturers in Cambridge, but a lot of them are very high tech. And you look at companies like ComDev who make satellites, they make really intricate things for the space industry. But now this new company that came into the business park making that landing gear for Boeing, that's high tech stuff.
Well, it's high tech, and if you look at the New York Auto Show, where the Toyota locally in Cambridge has a new Lexus model that's been just being debuted in at the show. So that's great.
Yeah, we've got some phenomenal companies that are doing some great things, and it's great. This morning we're going to welcome in Wren Pet Foods into the community.
Had a good discussion with them. That's great.
And you have pets, and I have pets.
Yeah,
and
I know. I have annoying pets.
Yeah.
And, well, I have one annoying pet left. So Milo, the Chihuahua, at 9 pounds, determined. You can tell in the wintertime how cold it is by how far out the back door he goes.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom. At one point, it was about a 2-foot radius. And that was the minus 34.
Yeah.
And that was it for him. So, and you love them to death.
Smarter than humans because we have to walk out further than that. They just walk out far enough.
Well, they know. Anyways.
I'm really excited, Doug, about something that the Chamber, as you know, we've strongly supported community investment.
Right.
You've got some great programs. In fact, I had your CAO, Gary Dyke. I interviewed him the other day. And he actually mentioned you, and he says Mayor Craig came with some great vision around getting back to the river, and that your Back to the River initiatives going on in the community, and we didn't have time to speak in detail about each of the projects, but maybe you and I can, because those are things that both of us are passionate about investing in our community, creating opportunity for others, and for our community to really experience the beauty that we have. So maybe we should talk about a few of those.
I think the key thing for people that are watching this is what distinguishes Cambridge from other communities. It's the river system.
Yeah.
And people came to our communities over 150 years ago because of the rivers, the water power that was necessary, things like that. And so we've built up 3 communities on 2 rivers, and we have 1 city now. And what it has really done is, for us, it's what differentiates us. So we've decided to do a number of projects because, first of all, we need to invest. Something we need to do more of, and we're investing in all our downtowns. So we have, for instance, the Old Galt Post Office, which in fact is going to be the first digital library in Canada, completely digital.
Wow.
And that really is, is a marriage between the past and the future in terms of the building itself and how the architecture is taking place. It will be going to tender in this month. And we are expecting by the middle of May to have decided who the contractor is, and then we're going to be moving ahead. December 2016, We will have the old post office will be finished. We will have saved one of the key heritage buildings in the region, and we will have blended the future into it by the digital concept that we're doing. So you look at that. We're doing the parking lot across the street behind Cafe 13. That's a major investment to change it, to make it into a civic square in a sense, to have some events at times. We're doing a pedestrian bridge which will link that, and will link the McDougall Cottage, will link the School of Architecture and the exhibition that they have there on a permanent basis, and will link the library on the other side in terms of pedestrian access. And you go up the river. So now you have private investment. We've been told by private investors in the downtown that they're going ahead with their investments because of what we've committed to. As an example, you've got the old, the mill, and you have this new condo 12 hotel enterprise that's going ahead. It's coming to council this month for rezoning, and there's a lot of council support for it. So that's part of the private. Up in Hespeler, starting probably in May, it's a 3.5 million redo of streetscaping in the Hespeler area. That all links back to the river too, because we are making those linkages. In Preston, you're going to have the streetscaping in 2017, and we'll also be coming to the public probably in May on the dam and how we feel we can deal with the beauty of the dam and keep the pond there, which is very important to people in Preston. So those are a number of the projects that we're doing, and we're doing them in phases, and we believe that this 4 years will be transformative. I've said that before. We're going to see a transformation across this whole city in so many different areas. We're going to, as an example, if I can move on a bit, is to talking with Catherine McGarry, our MPP, in a few weeks, and putting together a plan to see the Minister of Transportation about GO Train to Cambridge. And the other thing we're doing is I've asked the region to give us an outline of the bypass around Cambridge, which is the south boundary road south of Myers, which will hook up into Franklin Boulevard in 217 and extend it over later on up into the east boundary road, will hook into Town Line. That will be our bypass.
And that'll get the truck traffic out of downtown.
I want it out of the downtown, and I want it accelerated. So that's what I'm going to Regional Council. I'm saying, look, you accelerated the bridge over the Grand River in Kitchener, the new bridge on Fairview. And you put other projects aside to do that. I'm asking for the same thing. Okay, you're spending $2 billion in a light rail. All I want is more money spent on on this bypass. So
I think that's really important.
These are all these issues we're dealing with.
I think the south boundary road is critically important. We've talked about that, well, since you and I were on council back in the 90s. I know it needs to happen, and I think at one time there were, the powers to be said, oh no, it's all or nothing, it's a complete ring road or nothing, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
It needs to be done in pieces anyway, and we need to see where this takes us and how it goes. I know, from the Chamber's perspective, we view this community investment by the city as really taking a step towards leadership in community development. Because we know, and you and I have talked about this many, many times, about how the municipality needs to take that leadership role, and that's going to drive private investment. And we see it coming all over the place.
I think the other thing, too, is we're going to be lighting up the bridges downtown. People think, well, why would you want to do that? Well, if you look at great cities around the world, they have two things. They have great bridges, and they light their bridges up, whether it's in Sydney, whether it's in New York, whether it's in London, England, and they do that, and that's part of what they do. Streetscaping, great cities have great streets. And you have to put that in perspective. If we're going to have a better quality of life, if we're going to have a place where people want to come, we're going to make these investments. You go through the criticism. I always know that. Well, why would you spend your money on a bridge? Everybody has an opinion. The point is, it has been approved. It's going ahead, and it'll be a matter of just how we stage it over the next couple of years.
I think, and you and I are privileged a little bit to the fact that we get to go to a lot of communities around the world, and we get to see what they do and the innovative ideas and what they do to attract investment, but also to attract people. And I was just talking this morning with an individual that came into the chamber, and I said, whenever a visitor comes into our community and spends $1, it actually transforms into $10
Yeah.
into our community because it recycles and it
Drayton
moves.
Theatre.
Drayton Theatre's
No,
a
it's
great
perfect.
example.
This great announcement that
Yeah.
their home now is in Cambridge.
Yes, yeah.
We have one of the finest, production and theaters in Canada.
Yeah.
We really do. And this wonderful theater enterprise has come to Cambridge, built their premier facility here, and are now located here, and it has a great cultural impact. And you go to the Wizard of Oz as an example.
Oh, it was
the
brilliant.
most not surprising, but the most, for me, the personal thing about it was the young children that
Yeah.
were in this play. There had to be, I would think, there's two groups. I know they group them. They don't go to every. They don't. They're not in every play. There had to be about, I would say, 30 or 40 children
Yeah.
that had this wonderful experience to be in a Toronto, New York quality play on stage.
Absolutely.
And it was fabulous.
Yeah.
So this is the investments we make. When we okayed Drayton Theatre, there were about 125 people in the audience, a lot of them standing, and the overwhelming majority didn't want us to build the theatre. Well, we've built the theatre, and it's an overwhelming success.
Absolutely.
So,
there's no
that's
question.
where we're at.
Well, people who are satisfied generally stay at home and read the newspaper.
And I
that's
believe
great.
that, yeah.
I happened to be at the AGM for Drayton Entertainment the other
Yep,
night,
yep.
and had an opportunity to talk to Alex Moustakas for a few minutes. One of Drayton's plays, and I can't remember the name of it, and they're probably going to be mad at me for not mentioning
Is
it.
everybody listening?
But is actually going to be in Hamilton this year
Oh,
for
he's
4
down there.
weeks.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
he's
he's
down
down
in
there now,
Hamilton.
yeah.
He's directing it, and he's getting the talent ready. But what's really interesting is it's $75 to go to that one, and it's $40 when
here.
they bring it back
Here,
to
yeah.
to Cambridge. I think in late July to play here. It's going to be $40 and no parking costs. And
Well, look at the
it's just
costs.
wonderful.
I mean, Drayton Theatre does not cost the city of Cambridge on operating costs a dime.
I know.
We don't pay anything. The operating cost for Center in the Square is around 1.75 million a year. So you know what? It's a great theater. It's been done wonderful things, but we've done a lot of work in the arts, which I'm very proud
Yep,
of.
yep.
Now we're looking at sports
Yeah.
in Cambridge.
So there was an announcement out this week. We're looking down the road, and hopefully before the end of this term, you're going to break ground on a brand new facility.
What we're looking at is we'll announce probably in about 2 weeks, so I'm going to say the middle of April, we will have a public announcement of where the new Sportsplex Recreational Center is going. And okay, that's going to be out of the way. You can't have a public discussion on location because it drives up the price all over the city. We've already made that decision. We think it's going to be a great announcement. We also know that it's not going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
We know that. We also know as we go into it, people have expectations of all these different sports in the complex. And the actual ability to fund it is about that big.
Yes, exactly.
And so we're working on that. So we will be going out with public meetings to ask all the various sports groups across the city and members of the general public for their comments on what they want in this new sportsplex. So that'll be taking place. Councillor Montero is the chair of that. And Councillor Shannon Danshade is the vice chair. Again, both have Shannon has a great sports background. So we'll be doing that, and we will probably go to a final okay in the fall of this year. We're looking at design next year, and probably beginning of 2017 we're looking at construction. And I would say by June 1st or September 1st of 2018 it will be open. So that is an incredibly fast timetable.
Yes, it is.
If you go to assemble, and it's in Cambridge, I can say that much about the location. The point being that if when you look for a location, you've got to look for something that's not contaminated, something that has city services, all of that. That's not easy to do.
No.
And if you want to find something else where you have these conditions you have to deal with, you look at the actual sportsplex going in about 6 or 7 years after you go through all of the site plans.
Positioning of it and where it's going to be, it's difficult. This is not like a neighborhood arena. This is going to be a full multiplex concept around being able to use it, not just for hockey, for a myriad of different things.
Well, the thing being, right now we have done surveys across the city. We know what our facilities do. We know which facilities people like. It's interesting in terms of all the city services. Let me just throw it in. This is a bit of a lateral comment. The top facility that people love in the city are libraries.
Yeah.
75% of those surveyed. And you get down into the sports groups. So we know what we have. We know what the sports groups we think need, but we need to have that amplified by hearing from them. So we're probably, I mean, let me make this very careful, probably looking at 2-3 pad arena in terms of the ice surfaces. We're probably looking at a swimming pool, obviously. I'm looking at a gym, a major gym complex, and whatever else may come out.
Yep.
You know, lawn bowling hasn't got in touch with me yet.
Yeah.
But no, we've heard from everybody.
And I think
it's great.
that's the important aspects. I think what the community needs to do is they need to get out and they say what they would like to see in the facility, and then really it's a step back at that point and say, here's our wish list. What can we actually achieve?
Well, what can we afford to?
Well, exactly, because from the Chamber's perspective, we absolutely love the community investment that the municipality is starting down that path for. However, we're always cognizant on
What people can afford.
What people
There's
can
that
afford.
balance. So
Absolutely.
to be very fair, I mean, there's going to be a one-time sportsplex hit on taxes,
Yeah, yeah.
and that will come in. But that's an investment. It's investment in not in structure. It's an investment in people.
Yes.
That's what people. That's how we have to look at this, and I really believe that.
Yeah.
We want it to be an investment that people are going to be proud of. We want tournaments to come to this city,
Yep.
and which again has the spiraling out of benefits to everybody in the community in terms of hotels, restaurants, and so on.
Yep.
So all these things are happening.
Well, when we look at the Dunfield Theatre, for example, in their first year of operation, they generated $24 million worth of spin-off economic benefit to the community. It doesn't go to the city of Cambridge so that you can offset your budget. But what it does is it creates opportunity. And it creates opportunity for people who need a job, for businesses who need to make more money because they're struggling. It's just been amazing. I talked to restaurateurs in the downtown who knew the day that the theater opened.
Yeah.
Because their business jumped 30%.
Yeah, I've had comments about from different restaurants, even the ones that are farther, like the Kiwi across from City Hall. All of them feel the impact, and I think that's terrific. It retains jobs of people that are there.
Yeah.
It increases some jobs.
Yeah.
But it also, not only does it give us the cultural dimension of exposing the community to culture, but it has certainly an economic spin-off.
Yeah, I think it's been an amazing investment, and you and I go to most of the shows, and they're absolutely brilliant.
Well, they all are. Yeah, I like the musicals. That's where I'm at.
So going forward in this term, we've got basically the community. You've laid out a lot of things that the Back to the River projects, the
Go Train,
the Go Train, the Sportsplex. Your
What else is
worship,
left?
your worship. Besides getting your knees fixed, which I hope you do in a hurry, because I do see you struggle every once in a while with
Can't run anymore.
So I know. But what else, Doug, is really
Well,
critically
I'm looking
important?
at how do we engage youth. Okay, I'm concerned about that. I went to a world conference where I spoke about our digital library, which is for young people. It's for older people too, but it's basically appealing to the change in society now. But young people are not engaged in politics. They're not at all. How do we engage them? I'm looking at something that's kind of interesting, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with it, but I'm in the Scottish referendum, they allowed 16 and 17-year-olds to vote.
Wow.
So I'm wondering, if you look at 16 and 17-year-olds today, are they any less able than we were when we were 18, 30, and 40 years ago to have a perspective of the world, what's going on? Should we allow 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in municipal elections? And I think that's a key thing. And that's how we engage youth. I go to high schools to talk about the election, and we have all the candidates at St. Benedict's as an example. None of these kids can vote.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
And yet they're very engaged when you're there.
Oh, yeah.
They're telling you what they want and what they like and what they don't like.
Well, they have to be recognized as being important.
Yes.
If they can drive a car, I guess it's 16?
16.
Yeah. If they can drive a car, and do those, and if you can pay taxes at 16 when you have a part-time job, then why shouldn't you be allowed to vote in a municipal election? So it's something I want to look at, and it's going to be controversial.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything we do is controversial anyways. I'm used to that.
Yeah.
And you just work through it. But I think it's a topic we need to talk about.
Isn't that
Engaging
amazing?
youth.
Isn't that amazing, though, that political discussion around everything is controversial?
Well, of course
you know,
it
you
is.
can't please everyone, and yet everybody thinks that they should be pleased 100% of the
Yeah,
time.
it's, you know, I understand at times people will say, well, Mayor Craig, I don't agree with you in this or that, but it's a tone that you set across a term
Yes.
of 4 years.
Yeah.
And you sort of make a judgment on that. My wife doesn't agree with me.
Yeah.
Like, well, yes, dear, okay.
But that's understandable,
But,
because I know your wife.
No, she's a wonderful person, but she'll tell me, you're dead wrong, why did you do that?
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, you know, maybe at a point, but you know, I recognize that, but I've said this publicly, I'm not elected to be popular. I'm elected to do what I think is right. There are times when I have to make decisions, or I ask council to make decisions that are unpopular. And I say to council, when you're unpopular, that's actually when you're really doing your job.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's difficult. And it's difficult to face a crowd and say, look, I'm not going to allow parking on your street because fire trucks can't operate there. So we're going to go ahead and prohibit parking. And people get really angry with us over
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I'm not here, like I said, to be popular. People want me, I believe, to make decisions that are difficult at times. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'll be judged on that, and I understand
Yeah,
that.
and sometimes you have to say no, and that's just part of the job.
Well,
you know.
the job is about saying no.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but a good part of the time.
I know, you know, some people come to me and say, well, you know, someday I'd like to go and, you know, I should go and talk to the mayor about this. I say, well, give him a call.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I guess everybody gets into that situation where they think, oh, he's unapproachable, but you are probably the most approachable person that I've ever met in my life in a senior political position.
Oh, I do appreciate that. I mean, I'm in the office, I answer the phone.
Yeah.
Which startles a lot of
I
people.
know.
What's the mayor? My
It
God,
even
you're not
startles
the mayor,
me, and I
really,
call
right?
quite often, but
I know.
it shocks me whenever you are the one answering the
No,
phone.
I've always done that, and I think that's a key part of being
Yeah.
accessible. I think that municipal politicians, well, we're the grassroots, we really
Yeah.
are. We don't have the layers of insulation where you can't get at us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I try to go to everything I'm asked, if I'm not, there's no conflict. And I try to be as approachable as possible. And that is the role of municipal
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
politicians. Let me just say one thing about this council. It is probably the hardest working council I've ever seen. They are there, most of them, all day long. They're part-time. They make $24,000 a year. And they're there all the time, and they're doing more and more. What I'm finding is that demands on local government are increasing all the time. I'm finding for myself in particular, I now belong to the auto mayors group, so dealing with auto-related issues, where we actually saw the premier and where I could talk about the importance of Toyota. I'm going down to see the premier on April 20th with a group of mayors about the arbitration system. I'm going to Ottawa to talk to federal MPs about infrastructure and the need for more money. You know, we do these European and Asian trips to drum up business. So my role has changed considerably, and I recognize that, and we're trying to get that out. That the public needs to look at that aspect of it. Okay.
I can tell you, you know, our relationship has been fantastic for many, many years, but, you know, speaking from my staff's perspective, where Scott Bridger, my
Yeah.
VP of sales, is often engaged with our membership, and they're having grand openings or something, and you have always absolutely made it a priority to come.
Oh, yeah. I think it's
and
important.
support our members who are having grand openings or doing whatever, and you've just been gracious with your time.
Well, you're very
I
kind
appreciate
this morning. But anyway, so
I'm very kind this morning.
just once in a while, it's nice to see you kind.
It is, but you and I have to get off to a grand opening for
Yeah, we do. It's,
a new. Yes, it's getting close. So, Doug, I want to thank you for coming in.
always
It's
a
always
pleasure.
great. I know you come in here just for the tea because we have great
it's true.
tea here, and you're welcome in the Chamber of Commerce at any
Yeah,
time.
let me make one last comment.
Sure.
I meant to tie this in earlier. The South Boundary Road, what it does, once it's determined, and we want it determined, because it's the EA is really holding things up, it allows 20,000 dwellings to go in Southeast Gulf.
Oh, yeah.
We've got 4 developers waiting. That's all part of the economic impact on the community. Okay? Okay.
It'll be huge.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely huge. That south end of the community will be the biggest portion of the community.
Yeah.
It'll be absolutely
Great.
monstrous down there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your mayor.
Yeah.
His worship, Doug
Good
Craig.
to see you.
Thanks very
Yeah,
much.
my pleasure.
Okay.